resoundingly. They did that also actually in Igunga, you see. And usually incumbent political parties try to create as many opposition parties as possible in order to be able to strike through them.
To divide the votes.
Yeah, okay. So, but the population was more mature. It refused to be conned. So again,
that's a big lesson.
That's a big lesson. Yeah. The population learned maturity. But secondly, Mkumbo talking about voting. Okay, that I would be interested to find out who actually went to vote, because there is some discussion that which was in the media, that some people may have been intimidated by the unusual presence of police. Okay, but who may have not gone to vote? It is quite possible that it is those who might have voted for the ruling parties. I mean, because those who are for the opposition are the ones who actually also mounted what? The vote wasn't just only counted. The population made sure it was counted. Because they know, the population know, that if you don't stand nearby, following the law, standing a little bit away, whatever, the distance, and then making sure, and that was the problem, okay? Because, the population now has learned, one, don't be intimidated by the presence of the police. Okay. Secondly, don't allow the police to tell you to go home, or anybody to go home until your vote has been counted and announced. Now, which means the lessons for 2015 is that if the police behave the way they did in Arumeru, then there will be peace. And I want to commend the police for refusing to play games, of stopping people from standing 100 meters and waiting for their vote. What's the problem? I mean, the police, I think, need more commendation for what they did in Arumeru. Yes, but
they also, did a good job,
yeah, they did. And the new leadership of the NEC. I think there are a lot of problems, because you are appointed by the same people and so on, and you are using. Agency of the dead, the development directors, who are also appointed by the ruling party, by the way. I mean, so you are in trouble, But they again and again, I think I noticed that they did the best they could in the circumstances, and to announce results. All the other cases we know right now, like the one around which is still in court and so on. I mean, we know that the problem is that the people who are supposed to be supervising the election are intimidated by the incumbent party, the ruling party, not to follow the rule. But in Arumeru, even the police behaved in an exemplary manner. They allowed the people to stand 100 meters and guard their vote, and that is not a problem. Okay, so if you are learning lessons, the population is becoming more proactive, is becoming more assured, and you're quite right. Kitila is quite right that by election, I've heard some murmuring among some ordinary people saying, this new NEC is good. I mean, they're beginning to believe that, NEC can actually deliver on making the vote. The vote can count. Yeah. Because, part of the reason why there is this low turnout is because people don't believe, the vote is already a foregone conclusion, the ruling party is going to win. I mean, you don't need to go to vote anyway, okay? And then some ruling party members are themselves intimidated by the police who are supposed to guard them. I mean, they don't go to vote, Okay, but on those two counts, because the population is becoming more mature, is more assertive, is more conscious, if you talk about consciousness, okay? Is beginning to be more conscious of its rights and its possibilities. The ruling party, and usually in any by-election, in any election anyway, if there are economic problems, the incumbent party is supposed to lose. If it doesn't lose, you have to ask yourself why. The population is also learning that lesson. That, if you are looking for someone to pay for your economic miseries, then of course the obvious choice is the incumbent. And that's why there is multipartism. So that you don't allow populations to be so excited, to be so incited about change that they go for the gun. The ballot is enough. So you have to make the ballot a vehicle for change. And Arumeru has shown that historically.
Okay, that's a very good lesson. John, you were planning to try and come in and say something, either counter the point that was raised by Azabeli. What was
No. What I was saying is,
in an election, and especially by election, any party who had a candidate who has been either ousted by court or death would like to retain the seat. And therefore, it becomes a wounded bull and sometimes lose the senses. So, it's not that because it is a ruling party. No, it is because it had a purpose. But again, not properly directed. But a wounded bull, you will see how much, it goes in cycles. So, not because of it being in power. No, it is because it wanted to retain. So, the party which won, Chadema, took advantage of when this wounded bull would stop going in cycles. By the time it has finished the cycles, it's already tired. That's when it took advantage. I mean,
Professor,
this is obvious. And again, I concur with the Dr. Lwaitama that people are aware. People know, those who turn up know their rights. People are no longer being intimidated. So they come out in full, those who came out. But again, I also agree that NEC did a good job.
So did the police, he says, yeah?
Yeah. It did a good job, except for those scenarios which
towards the end, yeah.
which otherwise they were provoked. But as I said, that's where they used a little bit excessive force. But again, they did a good job to make sure that there was peace and tranquility, even in pre-election period. There was no violence activity.
All right, thank you. Professor.
But of course, one should remember and remind the police that is what is expected of them. And also that it is long overdue. Now that it's coming, we hope that will be the culture of police recapturing its police culture, the real police culture. I just wanted to make a couple of points here. One has to do with, I think, Dr. Lwaitama, in introducing this Arumeru thing, suggested that this was, for the ruling party, that this was a safe seat or something. Well, I just wanted to remind him that, in fact, during the general election in 2010, the candidate of the opposition of Chadema was the same candidate
in the
Arumeru East. So he was running for the same constituency for the second time in this period of about 1 year, and his performance at the October elections was very good, because it was very, very close. I think here the figures, I don't know if you remember the figures, but he gave the winner a good run for his money. We can just say that. And there are people who say that if it hadn't been for Kuchakachua, this thing which is very hard to describe, probably that the young man might have won the first time around. So it was not a safe seat. And let me say this, because you just made that point. There are no longer any safe seats. I think what is happening in this country now, and part of the reason that the incumbents responded with this kind of panicky behavior is partly because they are also realizing that there is no such thing as a safe seat. And I'm saying this very advisedly, because when you see a retired president indulge in a diatribe, begin to talk as if it is not that person then there must be something going on, something very wrong. And I think it has to do with the panic arising from the realization, right, that the CCM is losing its grip on power, which before this was more or less taken for granted. And this is not just talking about CCM. This is just like anywhere where political competition is gaining ground. I mean, the point that you made is about the people themselves maturing even ahead of the competitors. That is exactly the thing, that they're also recognizing that is happening, and that's going to be, that's a force that's not going to go away.
Yeah. But there was a point here which Kitila raised, and he said the ruling party in the campaigns behaved as if it was the opposition and not the ruling party, and they didn't focus more on the achievements, and there are many achievements. And they were responding and giving promises. Do you think this is a fair comment?
This is the point, I think, and maybe I should tell Dr. Kitila. That is also not accidental, because I think the fact that they had to resort to the kind of language and the kind of issues that they raised does show that they really had no record to show on that ground. You may have national achievements like the Mkapa Road or something. That is nothing in Arumeru East. They have their long-lasting problems, and they would like to see accomplishments reported to them along the line of their particular problems.
Okay.
And obviously, they just searched the accomplishment barrel, and they found there was nothing to scrape and to give to the people of which I think is a lesson also, but it's not just a lesson for the ruling party. But let me say this: it is also a lesson for the Chadema and all these competing political parties, that the votes are going to come from the people, and if you have a conscious population, progressively conscious population, they are going to be progressively voting along the lines of what do they expect you to deliver. So that all these other peripheral issues, all these nasty stories about so-and-so, and is that so-and-so's grandson or not grandson, even the old people, I'm told, in Meru, and even more so, by the way, the old people in Musoma, apparently. I mean, somebody wrote in the Rayamwem, I think, they wrote a story that if that had been said, what Mkapa said in Arumeru, if that statement had been said in Kuria land, he may not even have come out of that place alive, because...
Okay.
Yeah.
I think there was one, I wanted to respond to Dr. Lwaitama's thesis. I agree with many things that he said, but I don't think I agree with him when he wants to associate the system losing Arumeru with the fact that attributing to internal wrangling, because this is not faction. I don't think so, because I want to remind him the other faction in the system was in Kirumba, and it also lost resoundingly. So I don't think it would have made a difference if they had put another candidate, because the other faction was in Kirumba, that faction lost. The same faction was in Kiwira, they also lost. So I think I agree with the professor that, it is not so much about this faction. It is really, voters are beginning to want real change. I think this I wanted to.
Unfortunately, in Kirumba, they lost with violence against the two.
Okay, but I think that point needs to be clarified. You see, what I'm saying is that the state is more likely to come out and nullify the results if the state is coherent. If it is not coherent, like in the Kirumba and the Mbeya one, Kiwira, again, you're actually confirming my thesis that they don't want that faction to win. They don't want the faction which was in Kirumba and Kiwira to win either. Okay, but on the other hand, in the Arumeru case, there was contest there, because if the party chair had ordered or encouraged the state organs to nullify the real results, then he would himself have faced the problem, because then the other faction would have said, you see, we won in Arumeru, so we can actually win the nation.
I know Dr. Lwaitama's problem. Just let me tell you, I think Dr. Lwaitama declares himself a dead member of CCM, and in the belief that the party is still alive, but he's the only one that is dead. So, false belief.
when a party which is in power is ruling, and is actually losing the election, and the electorate relies on the need of a change, and this change comes from non-delivery, the result is obvious. If there was something burning in that particular society, and this thing has been promised and was not delivered, what else? Let's try somewhere else. Okay. This is what happened in Zambia. Right. This is what happened in other countries. Right. And therefore, we say it's a warning to the ruling party.
All right. Very quickly.
You have to change.
Very quickly. Because, again, time seems to be running. So, who is the real winner in Arumeru, and what will be the lesson here? Very quickly.
The electorate won.
The electorate won.
The electorate won because they expressed actually their wishes. And therefore, that is what has been a result of personality and whatever happened in the Arumeru. Okay. The chapter closed.
I think democracy, in a way, or democratization in this country, won in Arumeru, and it looks to me that also the winning party won. I'm saying that both of these because I think the Arumeru election has given new momentum, okay, to the democratization process, but also again to the political competition that we have been trying to put in place over the last 20 years. And I think we are now finally, honestly, very, very realistically entering a phase when politics in this country is probably to be likely to be more and more competitive and therefore much more efficient.
Who do you think was the winner?
Reason won. Cynicism, chicanery, Machiavellian tricks were defeated soundingly.
So that's very interesting.
We can say many things. We can say the voters won, change won, democracy won. Of course, I want to go straight and say Chadema won. Straightforward. Chadema won this election.
Oh, yes. And of course, the ruling party.
If the electorate says.
Yeah, the ruling party, to be personal, I would say, was very magnanimous, and they accepted the defeat. Let me cite what the publicity secretary of CCM said. We agree that we have been defeated, and we congratulate the winner, which is Chadema. But we remind him, that's the Nasari, to fulfill promises made during the campaign. He went on, we will not appeal the results of the outcome of the election. That is why we have accepted the results, because the outcome is the poll, the outcome is the result of the poll. The poll was a voice of the Arumeru East voters. The CCM accepting that this was the voice of the Arumeru voters, who preferred Mr. Joshua Sinari of Chadema to CCM candidate Sumari. We think that Sumari will also accept the results. We are now collecting facts and other information to evaluate what happened in order to determine what these results mean to us as a party, as lessons learned from the outcome of the by-election, of the Arumeru by-election. This was Napenawiye, CCM, the Ideology and Public Secretary, addressing a press conference in Dar es Salaam on the 2nd of April. I got this from the citizen of April the 3rd. So, I think this was do you think it was indeed a sign of maturity to have accepted?
No, I mean, that's why I was saying, also the faction in CCM which relies on reason, which accepts that, even being in opposition is fine for CCM, won the election.
I mean, this was political maturity for CCM.
Political maturity, and it shows democracy's achievement. Because when you accept that you have been defeated, then on the reality, you have no question on that.
But maturity by default a little bit, because they had marred there.
Not exactly. I mean, we have already spoken about it.
After marring the campaign.
But when you agree on the defeat, then you say that is enhancement.
They needed to clean themselves up after messing themselves up so much.
It is under the principles and guidelines of democratic.
I agree. Accepting defeat, whether it was too late, it was early, or I think it's
election.
No, it was a good thing, but I'm saying that the background to it means that, I mean, in a way, I would have not have advised them otherwise, because The thing that I resent is the fact that they had brought this kind
Professor,
of behavior.
this is what happens
Okay.
in all
So
games.
it's also
On the
maturity.
competition.
It's also good.
It's not enough to say I'm sorry.
Maturity for democracy, my God.
That you play
So,
but again,
have we sufficiently covered the lessons learned from this? I think we have.
we have indeed. We have indeed.
So, if
No, maybe there's one lesson, and that is there are certain things which I found probably legally actionable in this. I mean, there are all kinds of allegations that were made carelessly, including questioning somebody's parentage, etc. But some of these things, I think, the lesson should be taken by NEC and the political parties to really straighten out this area and
emphasize
so that
and reinforce the code of
we
conduct.
don't see this kind of
Okay.
To remind them, you know.
In the next 5 minutes, but 1 minute each, that will be 4. Then I'll be left with 1 for me to conclude. Very quickly, any comment about the nullification of the Arusha Urban MP? Very few seconds.
That is a legal,
Any comment?
that is a legal process. That's why there is a right to appeal.
Okay.
For which is provided not only under the law, electoral law, but under the Constitution.
All right.
And judicial judicial procedure.
Okay.
So it's just a right. It's a legal process.
All right.
Yep.
No,
you share that very quickly.
No, it is controversial, and I think the overwhelming legal opinion that I have listened to basically is questioning the wisdom of the decision.
All right.
I think the courts you have there, these are the courts of law. They're not courts of justice. So the law has been done. We respect it, but I'm not sure if it is justice. Yeah.
Justice has been served.
Well,
Quickly.
A referee is a referee. Even if he or she allows a goal, which is a foul, he's a referee. But the point is, it was rather curious, you know, that, you know, immediately after this historic defeat, you have this, you know, out of the blue, you know, diversion from that discussion to a discussion about a Chadema candidate, member of parliament, on the issue of insults, which were a characteristic of the CCM team in Arumeru.
All right, gentlemen. I thank you very much. As I said at the beginning, I wanted you to come here and try and highlight the lessons learned from the Arumeru East by-election, because lessons are very important for us in order to conduct or to manage the electoral process in the future. As you rightly said, we will have a lot of these we have so many by-elections. So learning from the Arumeru East, we should be able to improve the management of the electoral system and therefore enhance our multi-party democracy. Thank you very much, my panelists. Viewers, you have heard from my panelists here that there are many lessons to be learned from the Arumeru East by-election. One, at least for me, is that the party CCM, which lost the election, accepted the results and congratulated the winner, Chadema's candidate, and that there will be no appeal. To me, this is a sign of democratic maturity. You may argue about it, but that was my point of view. I'm sure you heard it from the panelists as well. The party says it will collect data and the other information to evaluate what happened, to establish what the results mean to it, mean to the ruling party. And of course, it says they have already we have also learned that no matter what and who campaigns for the candidate in a particular constituency and how much money is being spent in these campaigns, the final decision lies with the electorate, like the Arumeru electorate. And that's the people who actually won the election, according to my panelists here. A lesson for all political parties, again, would be that the electoral process, if well managed, and all the competing parties observe election code of conduct, as we heard from Jaji Tendwa here, and procedures, that election will lead to a free, fair, and peaceful election. Obviously, the by-election in Arumeru has demonstrated the need to give prominence and more space to competing candidates to sell their local agendas and state what they will do for the constituency, and more importantly, to focus on local needs, problems, and solutions. Now that the by-election is over, it is up to the people of Arumeru East to work with their new MP and all other leaders, including those of the losing party as well as the small parties in the area, to address major concerns raised during the campaign and local development issues. The Arumeru East by-election, to me, is a victory for multi-party democracy. That's all I have for you today. Join us next Friday at 21 hours and on Tuesday at 14 hours for the repeat program. On behalf of my panel, Jaji Tendwa, Dr. Kitila and Jaji, Dr. Lwaitama, Professor Baregu, and my TBC Television Center crew. Thank you, viewers, and goodbye.